All right, so good afternoon. Welcome everyone to our user experience design info session today. So my name is Gary. I work at the Art and Design department supporting graphic design, UX, UI, visual arts, interior design, and interior architecture design programs. My background is in fine arts. I worked in graphic design, branding, and UX design prior to joining UC Berkeley Extension. So with us today is Yvonne Trujillo, who specializes in packaging design, branding, and UX design, worked for Kimberly-Clark Corporation, Acuity Brands, Nice Limited, and Anthem IDEO. He also a freelance designer who has worked with Dunghill, Puma, Safeway, Lexus, Samsung, Emory University, Maryland Jager Skincare. Yvonne is currently our program director for graphic UX and interactive design at UC Berkeley Extension. He will be presenting this info sessions this afternoon. We will also have some instructors joining us today to discuss design and give us an overview of the courses they teach. During our presentation, you could drop your question in our Q&A box, which is located on the bottom of our control panel. So in the Q&A box, and we will have a few Q&A pauses to answer any questions you may have. So without any further delay, I will let Yvonne take over the presentation.
Hi, everyone. We are really excited to have you here today at our info session for UX design. As Gary mentioned, there are opportunities for your questions. So like at any given time, when you feel that you have a question, go ahead and place it in the Q&A like chat, and then we will get to those questions when we make those specific poses. And let's start now. So UX design, it's a growing field, right? Like the skills are in high demand, and in the next 8 to 10 years, the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects a 13% increase in job opportunities in the UX design field. And that's faster than average. Like normally, like industries are at 4-5%. And so like that means that there's many different jobs out there for UX. So what is UX design? So it's a Gestalt approach to interactive media design by using a collection of elements to form a whole unit. It also is the emphasis on the human side of human-computer interaction and its effective results in individuals. So what that means, it's like, how do we feel about navigating an interface, interacting with a machine? It's all about organization. It's about creating seamless opportunities for the user to just have sort of like an intuitive experience. So the human performance aspect of interface design, which relates to the field of ergonomics. Also, UX design can be applied not only to digital devices, but everyday things. Let's say that in your office, there is a cumbersome form that you deal with so often, right? And so like the idea with that form, and there are many people using that form at an organization, is to create that process like seamless. Maybe it is a Word document that, you know, the moment that you start typing in, then like the lines are moving to the right, and then it creates this sort of like problematic, you know, like unwanted results. So what do you do? Maybe a clickable PDF, right, with endless characters that are gonna allow the person to fill out the information that the person wants. It's organizing garages, it's organizing closets, kitchens. you can apply the concept of UX to anything really in life. It's like problem solving. So are there any questions so far?
We do not have any questions at the moment.
All right, so there will be opportunities again for questions. So here is the thing. What we recommend is that, you know, like people that come to us have a bachelor's degree. We highly recommend that, because that's sort of the entry level that many organizations require, to have a bachelor's degree. So the moment that you have that and you marry that bachelor's degree with our professional program in user experience design, it opens opportunities for you, because the idea with our program is that we are going to have dedicated classes and dedicated projects. Every class, every course that we offer in the program, like, has a project in mind, so that you will walk out with tangible outcomes by the end of the semester, and then you start putting together your portfolio. And so these are the job opportunities when you marry those two, right? Like your experience in user experience that you're gonna gather with us, and your bachelor. So like, you can become a UX designer, a visual designer, perhaps a content strategist or interaction designer. If you are more on the front end aspect of US, then you will become a UI designer. Or you can, you know, like, troubleshoot aspects of how to navigate an app, how to navigate a website. And then for that, you know, like, information architecture is good. So like, you can become an information architect, a person that is, you know, like, involved with how people interact, you know, like, with gadgets and machinery and everything that you can think of, then user-centered designer. Or if your jump is like research, and you are more on the side of, you know, like, analytics, and the side of like interpreting information and going out about, you know, like, interviewing people, like having focus groups, implementing different methodologies like qualitative and quantitative user research, then you will apply that to become a user researcher. So, oh, by the way, all the images that you are seeing in this presentation are done by students in the program. So they're credited towards the end of the presentation, but yeah, none of these images are stock images or anything like that. They're, you know, the results of our awesome students. So why are we here? Why is User Berkeley extension here? We want to meet, you know, like, your needs as a student. Some of you are coming here because of a career change. Maybe you're not happy with what you're doing and you want to switch careers. Some of you might be coming over here for career advancement. Maybe you have done some UX, but there are knowledge gaps, and then you want to fill those, and you can take courses with us. By the way, when it comes to career advancement, if you're already a UX practitioner, you don't have to take all the courses with us. You can take courses a la carte, because that's the beauty of continuing education, that it's flexible enough to meet the needs of the students. If you are totally new and never encountered UX and you don't have any formal education, it will be good for you to do the the professional program in UX design. Anyway, coming back to this slide, you can develop a strong UX foundation. You can develop UX specific skills, create a professional portfolio to enter the field. In the design fields, for those of you that are not designers, a portfolio is required. And what that means is that, like potential employers will ask you for your website URL, right? And you gotta show work, you gotta demonstrate that you can do, like UX design in this case. So it's really important to pay attention to every course that you're doing and every project that you're doing in order to build that portfolio and build it in a solid manner. And then lastly, some of you come with the idea to apply to grad school, but you don't have the knowledge and you don't have the background. So like, again, you build your portfolio to apply to grad school if that is your goal. Here are our required courses. So we have Essentials of UX Design, which is an overview of the whole UX environment, diagramming and prototyping. Here you're gonna use perhaps Adobe XD or Figma or Sketch, InVision, depending of what your access is and depending also of what their instructor requirements might be. So they will let you know at the very beginning of class, the tools, all the courses will let you know in the very first week of class, like all the materials that you need, the software that it's going to be used. So wait until you start the class and don't purchase anything because you might not need something that you might be thinking of. So just wait a little bit. In the visual design principles course, of course, you learn the design principles and you will learn, like Gestalt design approaches. There will be aspects of typography, color theory, and page layout, as well as navigation systems. And then in the user research course, you will learn qualitative and quantitative methodologies to apply, like UX research. And information architecture and content strategy, you will, in information architecture components, you will like find ways to structure a website or an application, find ways to gather information together that belongs to the same bucket of information. Sometimes when we go to really large sites, like let's say a large corporation like Home Depot, where there are thousands and thousands of products, the information architecture for that organization has to be completely streamlined so that us, the users, can find what we're looking for. And so like all that goes to like how you label information, right? Like if you are in the paint department, everything that's supposed to belong to the paint department should be in there and should not be scattered in other departments. And in content strategy, you will learn aspects of accessibility, SEO, tone and voice, chunking, how to break information in small chunks, and audit, how to do an audit of a website. And lastly, in user interface design, you will bring, like all the components, all the aspects that you have learned to create sort of like a main project that you're going to be redesigning a particular, like brand, a particular application, some sort of aspects that might not be working, or design your own thing. And of course, you're gonna focus on the interface quite a lot in this course. What happens is that UX and UI are totally related, so they cannot live without each other. They coexist together. And what you learn in one course, you can bring that into your other courses, right? So don't think about isolated buckets. Like, you can apply what you learn in diagramming and prototyping in all of your other courses, with the exception of perhaps user research. If you learn design principles, you can apply that to most of the courses too, because the information that it's there is not just for that particular course. It can be applied to many more aspects of UX. So have an open mind when you're taking the course, right? Like the first course. And then when you're going to take the second course, think about what can I bring from what I learned in my previous course so that I can make my projects better and stronger. Here is our technology recommendation. So like, we recommend you to have an Apple MacBook or a PC with similar capabilities, right? Like 16 gigabytes of memory RAM. That allows you to, like navigate fast in a way, have different applications open without, lagging, because, like graphics and all of that, like take a lot of memory RAM. So it's gotta be a little bit powerful. The Adobe membership is gonna be good from the get-go, because you're gonna, like take aspects of Photoshop and Illustrator in the visual design principles course, and you are gonna use Adobe XD in other courses. And when it comes to Sketch, Figma, InVision, Principle, and many more that are out there, you just can wait for what the instructor recommends you to have. All right, and there is a time for, like place your questions.
We do have some questions. Does it matter what kind of bachelor's degree you have? Is there a preference for certain fields?
No, it doesn't really matter, to my understanding, because, as long as you know how to do UX, the employer wants you to work with them regardless of your previous past experience. And again, the portfolio is really good to demonstrate that you can do UX, because, like out there in the industry, as designers, we're not evaluated by our GPA and our resume or things like that. Of course, the resume counts, but what counts the most, it's your portfolio, that you can, like really do what you're applying to do.
Can a person without a bachelor's degree join the UX design program?
The answer to that is yes. Like, the university doesn't put any limitations on that. And we have had students in the past that without the bachelor's degree were able to enter the field. But, like, again, the portfolio is crucial. So if your portfolio is outstanding, some companies will, kind of like not notice that you don't have that bachelor's degree, even though that might be the minimum requirement for them.
So I have a fine arts experience, and I'm choosing between graphic design and the UX design program. Would it be an unconventional way to join the program?
No, like in the past, we have had students in a similar with a similar background, right, in fine arts, and some of the students have decided to do either the graphic design program or the user experience design program, or sometimes even both. So it is up to you. Like for instance, visual design principles course is good for the two programs, and it doesn't need to be retaken when you are joining that second program between those two. So
So,
less time and less money also.
so to follow up with that, so what if I don't have any Adobe application experience?
Oh, then start with the graphic design program, because we will teach you, like that software in the graphic design program.
So when is the deadline to sign up for courses?
I'll show you that on the website. Like the courses beginning in the end of August, I believe, in the graphic design, and in UX design in September. We're not the typical university that begins all courses the same week and ends all courses the same week. Our courses, again, start for UX in September all the way to early October. And so you gotta come to the website, and you gotta probably like add that to your calendar so that you won't forget, like when the course that you're interested begins.
Is a graduate degree important to the UX field? I think we answered this question previously.
No, a graduate degree is not essential but some people want to do a graduate degree in order to teach. And so like people come again with different goals, but it's not a requirement to just enter the industry. It will be just for teaching.
How deep, if at all, do we learn about coding?
Say that again.
Are we going to have an opportunity to learn about coding in this program?
Yes, there are elective courses, and one of those is web design with HTML and CSS. So like if that is what you're interested in, then that will be an appropriate course for you as an elective.
So are the projects in this program client driven, or how does it work?
No, most projects are led by the instructor. They're not client-based. Here and there we have clients, but most of the time they're just gonna be instructor-led projects.
Do we also get access to UC Berkeley recruiting platform?
No, that I'm aware of.
Yeah, so I think the question was like, will we get we do have a careers services department that you can join later, and Yvonne will explain that further down the presentation deck.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get the recruiting aspect, but I'll talk about career services later.
Right. I think that's all the questions we have right now, so we can continue with our presentation.
Okay, so who are you going to be learning from? So you're going to be learning from, we have some of the instructors in this presentation. So they're all working professionals. They work in the field, right? And so that's really valuable for you as a student, because they're bringing their expertise, they're bringing their knowledge, that apply reality, right, that they experience in their jobs every day. So Manny Darden, he's a senior UX designer and an instructor. He works for Apple and he teaches a UI design course. Tom Gary, he's a creative director and educator, and he works for himself as Gary and Kelly Brand Development, teaches visual design. Dr. Jennifer Romano, she's a senior user experience researcher and strategist, an author, a keynote speaker, and an educator, works for Google, teaches UX research and also accessibility in UX design. Pamela Wong, it's a product development engineer and an instructor, works for Ford Motor Company and teaches the web design with HTML and CSS. And Josh Halstead, it's a senior manager, brand activist, educator, and an author, and works at Design Matters, teaches accessibility in UX design with Dr. Romano. So they co-teach the class. Scott LeCount, he's a UX content designer, writer, mentor, and instructor, works for Extron, teaches essentials of UX design and content strategy. Also, Deborah Michelides, she's a UX consultant and an instructor and works for UX Bootstrapper, teaches UX design. Sarah Fatala, she's a social designer, UX researcher and instructor and works for Think of Us, teaches a UX research course and service design. Rakesh Padwari is a product design manager and an educator and works at Meta Facebook, teaches info architecture. And Earl Friedberg, it's a UX lead, instructor and mentor and works for Google, teaches content strategy. Do we have some of the instructors are gonna be joining us. In the meantime, are there any questions?
Yes, we do. So how long does this typically take to complete the program?
Okay, so the program is 6 required courses and 1 elective. And so the program can be done on a part-time basis or on a full-time basis. Part-time, it can be 1 or 2 courses per semester. So if somebody is taking 1 course per semester, that will take you 7 semesters, which are 2.5 years. If one is doing it like part-time, taking 2 classes, it will be a little bit over a year in 4 semesters. And if one wants to do it full-time, it can be done in as little as 2 semesters by taking 4 courses in the first one and 3 on the second one. We offer all the required courses every semester. And electives, you know, they vary, but there's always like plenty of electives to choose from.
How many outside of class hours should we be expected for each course?
Oh, that's a very good question. So if you will be meeting with instructors like 3 hours each week. Let's say that your class is Monday, 6 to 9 p.m. You will meet in either like 10 consecutive Mondays or 12 consecutive Mondays from 6 to 9 p.m. And for homework for each course, it's expected that you will do 6 hours of homework. And you might be thinking, oh my God, that is a lot. And the answer is yes, it is a lot, but at the same time, you know, like everything has been crafted and everything has been designed in order for you to learn in different ways, right? And so it's not gonna be busy homework. It's gonna be like homework that is gonna teach you the UX design skills that you need. So there will be like, perhaps like videos to watch. There might be podcasts. There might be like readings, and of course, hands-on assignments that one needs to do on a weekly basis.
I only have a computer of 8 gig. How crucial is that to change to 16 gig?
The computer is 1 gig only?
8
gig. It might be able to run. So like what I would say, it's like start the course, right? Start what you want to start and see how it operates. Maybe a recommendation over here is to delete things that you might don't need any longer, or maybe like put them in the cloud so that they're not taking memory RAM from your machine. And delete unwanted things, downloads and things like that that you don't use anymore, that you're not gonna need.
And we just have Deborah joined, and she's one of our instructors, and she will give us a walkthrough of her course, and of course, any design discussion that we may have. So welcome, Deborah.
Thanks for having me.
Hi,
Am I the first instructor to go today? Oh boy.
Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. It's so good to see you.
You too, yeah. For those who don't know, we are on opposite coasts. I'm in the East Coast near Boston, so I'm glad to be able to join you. I'm sure a lot of you are from different areas. That's the beauty of what I love about teaching online is I get access to students who are all over the world. I never would have had that in person. And when I was teaching in person, it was people who were coming, from other countries and living where I was. So it's kind of nice to get access to people that I normally wouldn't. So it's exciting. So, I will hopefully, it looks like I do have access to share my screen.
Yes.
I thought I'd show you the course and talk a little bit about it. Just give me a second to learn how this. Oh, apparently I have a lot of tabs open, so hold on. It shows you every screen that
Take
you
your time.
have open. But hopefully, allow it to share your screen, open system preferences. Oh boy, I didn't realize I didn't have access or wasn't allowing it.
You can
Hopefully,
send it to us and then we can share our screen. If you send it to Gary or me, we can do
really,
that.
all I did was log into my course and I just was gonna click around in there on specific things, but let's see if this lets me, give me 1 second, see if it lets me do it. I don't know why it wouldn't give me permission. That's very strange. Zoom, what are you doing?
Gary, can you go to like Canvas, Deborah's course, and maybe access it
Yeah,
from,
let me just try
Yeah.
that.
from there?
That'll be faster than, who knows how long the technology will take to fix.
It's
Sorry about
funny
that, guys.
because the other day I tried to log into the Monday info session and it wasn't allowing me to open it at the beginning.
Oh no.
And I panicked for, couple of seconds until I was able to troubleshoot the issue. But yeah, there's always something going on with technology.
For sure. And I think every time I upgrade Zoom, it changes my settings. That's why I did not expect this today, because I thought it was all set. But anyway, if you're able to get into my course, it doesn't matter which one you choose, which is, I know I have, I think I
Okay,
have spring, summer, and fall in there right now. So it really doesn't,
right. So
any of them are fine. They're all the same.
So I'm in fall right now. Let me just share my screen, okay? So give me 1 second. And you let me know where to go.
Okay. We will work together today. So this is the course. I don't know if any of you have seen, this is Canvas, but this course is 10 modules. I don't know, I think other courses might be different, but each module is basically a week. Except for module 10, you get 2 weeks on that. And what's really nice about my course is it is an intro course to user experience. So it's kind of that place where if you want to become a user experience professional, you obviously need to take this class. But if you're just interested in the subject from any reasons, I have students coming from all different backgrounds within the university, usually under a design umbrella, but not always. I have product people. I have a lot of people that come here for many different reasons, and it makes it a really rich and exciting experience because the perspectives are exciting. So if you're in a career where you've mainly worked on the product side, or you've been a programmer and you come in and you've always been interested to know what are the UX people doing, I have to work with them, but I don't really understand. So people take this course for that reason as well. And well, it's not a secret. I'm going to tell you right now. I love that. I love that this course has such diversity in kind of motivations for taking it. So we get a good mix, and we cover a lot. We definitely cover a lot. And a lot of the students tell me that they feel like they really have a strong foundation in everything in the UX universe. And they get a great understanding at the end of what areas resonated the most with them. And that was really my goal. When I created this course, I was like, it's the intro course. I want to give you a taste of everything. And then at the end, you decide which things of that were the most exciting to you. Now, for me, I'm more of a general practitioner. I love all of it. But I also know that that's not always typical. And so students sometimes are a little afraid to admit that they didn't like something. And I said, that's actually perfect that you were able to do enough of it to understand it and know if it was something for you. So we'll start, let's go into module 2.
Okay.
And I'll show you kind of some examples of a couple of like artifacts that students produce. It's very project-based. I think I heard Ivan was talking about how many hours per week you would spend. You do spend a lot, but the time kind of goes fast, and it's all project-based. And we do have lectures. You can see we have the lectures here. I'm not going to bore you with that because it's just me talking, which I'm already doing. But if you scroll down a little bit here, you'll see there's an assignment. There's assignments here. We have research assignments. We have kind of a good mix of things, like contextual inquiry is something you do where you go out and you talk to users. So I try to make this as real world as possible. I actually have you go out and talk to users. I don't just give you data to work with. Thinking about the business side of it as well. Let's go to the next module. There's an example in there. One of the artifacts that we create is personas. It's kind of a common artifact that a lot of places use. Marketing uses it as well. But for us, go ahead and click on create a UX persona. This is a model that it's
In the
further down
assignment.
Sorry about that.
Assignment.
I'll try to direct you. I'm pointing at the screen. You can see my finger, right? Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, you saw it. You totally, yeah. Right. Anyway, if you scroll down, there's a link under instructions number 2. It says sample persona. A little further up. Under instruction number 2. Personas are one of those kind of common artifacts that a lot of UX practitioners use, but not everybody really understands what they're for. So I make sure to cover kind of those, the most likely artifacts and things that UX designers would encounter in their career. And we have discussions about it. Personas, you might know what they are, even if you've never been in UX, maybe you've been in marketing, but they're definitely something. Go ahead. Did you see the link? It's in blue. It says sample. There's a little
Sample?
green thing to the left. Yeah, go ahead and click on that. This persona, I give like a very stripped down version of it. It's just the basics. What do you need to know as this is what it kind of like what the output of that is. But the assignment is really about if I was going to make a persona and I wanted everything in that persona to matter, what would be that stripped down version? So a lot of this class is about that, is like keeping it to the basics and really dissecting what those basics are and why they're important. All right, we can get out of this. Let's
Deborah,
go on.
I'm gonna give you 1 more minute because we have other panelists.
Okay, I
and-
got my 1 minute warning. Let's go all the way to the last module. I'll show you guys one more thing. And I do want, if people do have questions, I do want to make
Last
time for that.
module.
And of course, if you have questions after, you can always contact me. Module 10. Everything we do in this course builds to the final project. Every single assignment is in kind of in a design process. We talk a lot about that. If you go down to the assignment, final UX case study slides, go ahead and click there. The final project becomes like a portfolio piece. So if you do decide, we're going to look at final presentation example 1 under samples. See the headline that says samples, and then
Simple
final presentation
example
example 1.
okay.
Yeah, and just click to the second slide. We don't want to. Oh yeah, we don't want to show the student.
No, we
too
can't
much
do
info,
that.
but
No,
so, and that's basically it. Like, if we could see the example, great. If you can't get to it, that's okay. Every
Oh, I
single
can't.
assignment builds and builds. And you have this case study at the end, and it shows how it all comes together. And it's always very exciting for students to be like, wow, I can't believe I did all this. I can't believe I have this showpiece at the end that shows everything I learned. And it's a great jumping off point if you decide to continue in UX, if there's certain areas that you. Oh, and here's examples of some paper prototypes we do, which is kind of different. Not a lot of people are learning about paper prototypes, and I have strong opinions about that. If anybody wants to know. So if there are any questions, I want to make sure we have time for that. And yeah, that's it. Please do this course. It's awesome. I promise.
Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
You're welcome.
Are there any questions for Deborah, Gary?
How intensively is user research covered in this course?
We do, it's interesting how you define user research. We do kind of a taste of a lot of the pieces of it, but we have a separate user research course, so I don't dive into it too much, but we do in-person interviews. We do at least 3 types, I think. So we do prototype interviews, and then we do our initial observational interviews. So it definitely gives you a good taste of what the basic user research would be. And if that's something you want to pursue, we have a full class that goes into it in much more depth. But this definitely gives you a good start. And you could go out and start doing more of it from there.
We
Great,
actually have like 3 courses in UX research. We have the UX research course, which gives you the overview about, like different methodologies. But then we have a course specific in qualitative research and one is specific in quantitative research, specifically for UX. And so if that's somebody's jam, that can be, your elective courses, or you can fully like immerse yourself in UX research if that's what you would like to do.
And of course, follow up with Deborah. We have Josh. So Josh is with us today. He's also one of our instructors. So we'll have him present his course.
Thank you,
And-
Deborah.
Thank you, Deborah.
Hello, can you hear me well?
Yes. Hey, Josh.
Well, hi, how's it going? It's nice to see everyone. I will be brief. The course that I want to talk to you about very quickly is accessibility and user experience design. The course is co-taught by myself and Jennifer Romano. My experience comes from branding and also as a person who identifies as disabled, looking at accessibility and inclusion in design praxis and practice more broadly. Jennifer has a really stellar background in UX psychology and as a UX designer at Google. One of the calls that the class asks us all to do is to reimagine what design is and how it could be carried out. A big shocker to most of the students is that we actually think about how design works outside of a visual world, given that lots of websites, apps, etc., are read aloud via assistive technology. So I prepared a brief 3-minute summation of 2 events that make a big difference to our class. And I figured instead of listening to me talk, you could listen to a piece of assistive technology, give the overview, and we can open it up for Q&A. Does that sound okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Wonderful. You know, I'm designing and experimenting too, and that's in the vein of the course. So on your mark, get set, about 3 minutes. The 2 events that make sense, matter to the course, and then a summation of what the course is about. Go.
The first event is a note penned by Paul Hunt to The Guardian. In 1971, Hunt urged the magazine to form a consumer group of disabled people within institutions. Soon after, the Union of Physically Impaired Against Segregation (UPIAS) was born without the News Corporation's help. The UPIAS was more radical than most other disability organizations at the time. Rooted in Marxism, they claimed that disability was a byproduct of modern social organization. According to their fundamental principles, disability is something imposed on top of impairments. By the way, we are unnecessarily isolated and excluded from full participation in society. Re-theorizing disability as a social imprint, rather than a bodily arrangement. Whispered something precarious that would cross the Atlantic into the United States and, later, most of the world. Disabled people belong to an oppressed group, and their oppression is amplified and pacified through design. The second event is the adoption of codetermination legislation in Scandinavia. Picking up momentum in the 1980s, codetermination legislation required corporations to include workers, 80% of which belonged to unions, in decisions regarding the design and development of new job-related technologies. In contrast to workers in the United States, Scandinavian workers were, in large part, the designers of their work environments and tools. This new way of collaborative problem-solving became what we know now as participatory design. Many contemporary designers and design organizations claim to center the voices of those most impacted by design outcomes. This sentiment, a hallmark of social justice and inclusive design approaches, originates in the Scandinavian labor ethic and praxis of codetermination. Our course, Accessibility in User Experience Design, owes its focus to these adjacent yet intersecting historical legacies. We first examine design principles for how to make digital environments like websites, apps, and multimedia experiences more accessible, centering the historical, social, and political importance of this task. Class discussions bring core concepts of accessibility as they apply to UX design to the fore, including an overview of conceptual frameworks for disability, assistive technologies, use of color, contrast, and tagging, and other everyday access practices. You learn practical techniques to ensure usability versus accessibility in web and mobile products that can be viewed and used by those with a wide range of bodily arrangements within myriad social locations. True to a participatory approach, though, our class proceeds through this content while elevating primary accounts of disability experience with design and technology. Taken together, in its 4th iteration at Berkeley Extension, Accessibility in User Experience Design offers you, the student, designer, professional, community activist, the tools to advocate for a more inclusive and codetermined world.
So in closing, I chose to do that to highlight the point that we dive in and we start using the tools in this class. We unapologetically kind of experiment with and tinker with what it means to do accessible design. We play with the guidelines, and we also invent new guidelines. So I hope that you join us in that co-determinate, collaborative, participatory, super fun process. Questions?
We do not have any question at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hang for a second, Josh, in case somebody plays a question in a while?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So after Josh, we have Tom. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? So Tom is also one of our instructors as well. So he will give us a walkthrough of his course and what it entails. Well, let me just make you a co-host. I think I already have done that. Yeah, you are a co-host.
Yeah. Can you see this okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, great. So I teach visual design principles along with Josh Halstead, who designed the course. And one of the main things that we do is basically the course is set up for students to learn how to evoke emotion. What we do really is about emotion. It elicits emotions. It's what draws us in to looking at a website further or those kinds of things. So demand attention and perhaps make purposeful change through visual communications. I call it VDP. It's your toolbox for graphic design ideation. The class mimics a design studio where students collaborate with myself and with each other to find solutions to communication challenges. So why are visual design principles important to UX designers? Many designers create sitemaps and wireframes and prototypes. We all know that. But to learn some standard UI techniques, you can apply those to your deliverables as a UX designer, which makes it much more valuable and you more empathetic with the whole design process. This is especially true of wireframing and prototyping, which I just mentioned, where you can explore some of the following visual design principles, like responsive layouts and grid designs. UI designers use grid systems to help with the responsive environment where users could be looking at their work and going with that. As a UX designer, learning about these grid systems and incorporating them into wireframes is a great way to create a more visually appealing deliverable. A visual hierarchy. This is definitely one of the most important, I think, to be able to figure out where is the eye going to go first. And what is it going to communicate? You only have a few seconds to communicate a message, and the visual hierarchy is part of that. Why should a UX designer worry about typography? It's usually in the minds of UX designers who often just use Helvetica or Arial, but there's so much more to learn and understand the nuances of typography and certain fonts and how they communicate certain feelings. And then finally, color theory, which is one of my favorites because colors can really help communicate very clearly what the overall brand personality is of whatever it is that you're working on. So color theory is part of the VDP or Visual Design Principles class, and it's very, very valuable. I'd like to just quickly run through a couple of the assignments for you. The first thing is a poster where students design an educational poster that illustrates 8 of the visual design principles, such as like this one: contrast, negative space, movement, depth, all of those kinds of things. This is the first assignment, and you're utilizing different typographical solutions. Then we move on to project 2, which is a big, big assignment. You are rebranding a museum. You will choose a museum in which to rebrand their entire aspect. Here, the first thing you'll do is who is their audience? What types of exhibits do they typically curate? Their mission, their purpose, their history. Who is their core audience? Students will fill that out, and that is the first upload. Secondly, we have key attributes or brand attributes. These are essential values. In this particular case, for the Skirball Cultural Center in Los Angeles, welcome, celebrate, connections, equality, and community are the essential key attributes. I also have my students write a brief sentence about what those actually mean, because words are words, but if they can translate that into a simple sentence, that goes a long way when you're coming up with new concepts and ideas. Next, we're going to redesign their logo. Here, we'll have you do 50 iterations 50 rough sketches. They, you know, 1.5 inches, 2 inches each, and you upload those. And then here's the one that was the main direction for this particular student, as we found out. And then they chose a version that 3 different versions in which to create digital roughs. This is that version of that. And then the typography palette, which they would do 3 to 5 options of different typographical palettes. And then a final logo, the final version of the logo. Here it's for the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco, and they've taken a stylized A and an M. Then we discover this is a really fun exercise, the color palette, using Adobe tools in which to generate all of the different colors that you're going to use. And then we'll also do a complete stationery package for the museum, which includes a number 10 envelope. It includes a 8.5 by 11 business letter, and also front and back business card. Then we get to a high fidelity prototype website. You're not coding it yet, but it's a high fidelity static version of what the website could look like. Students revisit all the readings and the lectures covering the UI and UX design that we've read, and they design a static home page, about page, and gallery page. And then finally, they do a high fidelity prototype app that takes that homepage concept. Here's the logo and an about page, and also a gallery page, as you see right here. So that basically tells you, should tell you what the visual design principles class is and why it's relevant to UX and UI specifically, or specifically UX. Any questions for me?
Not right now, but thank you, Tom, for a great presentation. So we do actually have 2 questions for Josh.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of which is like, what prior knowledge would you need for accessibility and UX design?
It's a good question. Jennifer and I have designed the course so you don't need any prior knowledge about accessibility. We take you from the beginning through different ways of conceptualizing disability to basic principles around what accessibility means, how we do it typographically, how we do it in color, and even all the way up to how do you make a accessible PDF. So we planned on you not knowing much, because if you don't know much, you're you're among the majority of designers, and the course was designed particularly to fill in that gap.
Okay. So there's one particular question is, I'm motivated to the field for improving assertive tech design, and I have low vision. And have we ever had students completed this program with low vision?
I can speak briefly to it, but I think Yvonne might also be able to speak to it in a programmatic sense.
Sure.
What I will say about the course in general is that we want you. It was designed for you. And we've made an effort, and Berkeley Extension at large has made an effort to make lectures, course content, assignments accessible. Specifically thinking about folks with different forms of blindness, low vision, etc. So it's very friendly to that. And as a design perspective, if you were in the class, your perspective would be integral to the integrity of the class as well. So that makes me excited.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Josh.
And I can fill in a little bit about the details. So like, the university welcomes everyone with a disability or not. We have a disability department, and what one needs to do it's contact the disabilities department so that they can figure out what kind of accommodations one needs, right? And that will get passed to our instructors so that we can run the course for you. Like we run this program in the in two formats, and Gary's gonna talk about that. But in the fixed date online, which is asynchronous, like all the courses are designed with that aspect in mind, that the content is accessible. So like you shouldn't run into any problems with that, with the asynchronous online program.
All right, I think that's all the question we have for Josh. Thank you very much for coming, Josh.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Josh.
Thanks for having me.
You take care.
Okay, you too.
Bye. All right, so next, would you like to share your slide deck, Ivan?
Sure.
All right, so here we are. Our program is currently in remote learning with two instructional types, one of which is live online and fixed day online. So I would talk about the differences between them. So live online courses are basically alternative to an in-person course, with the exception of obviously via Zoom at your comfort of your own home. And typically live demos, lectures are not recorded. You would meet with your instructors and classmates weekly at the scheduled dates and times in a Pacific Standard Time. So your live participation is part of the grading criteria in the courses. And outside of live sessions, you would interact with your instructors and classmates via our learning management tool called Canvas. So with fixed day online courses or pre-recorded materials, along with predetermined assignments and due dates, and you get access to the course materials at your convenience during the enrollment period. You would also interact with your instructors and classmates through discussion boards, for instance, via our learning management system, Canvas, and also emails. Not all of our courses are being offered in two instructional types. So some of the courses are either or, so you would need to choose which one works best for you. Next slide.
Actually, Gary, we have for the UX program, there are 7 courses being developed already. So one can finish the program because the 6 required courses are there, and also accessibility. So like, if your idea is to finish the program fully online because you might be on a different state, you might be in a different country, you can do that. One thing I just noticed, it's a little bit after 1 p.m. and that's totally fine. We're gonna continue. If you need to leave, we will send you the recording of this in a couple of days after the media team does some editing.
And next slide. So what would you do? So the first thing is to register to the program by submitting a non-refundable online registration to be official in the program. And it will allow our registrar's office to track your progress, review to ensure that all the courses are with the letter C or grade or better to issue a certificate upon completion. And next slide. So our graduates go on to do big things. So this program provides our student with competitive hard skills and knowledge to enter the design field. So Yvonne will introduce some of our graduates and what have they done since completing the program.
All right, so you know, this is only a small sampling of our graduates. We have like 2 slides. What we have done is include their websites, their portfolio, so that you can take a look as to what a portfolio for a UX designer might look like. And also, you know, like some of these students are also featured in our Voices blog, which will I show you in a little bit. But if you just, for instance, like click here on Clara's portfolio, and we will come back to the presentation. Hold on, let me go there really quick and share again. So here, for instance, is Clara's website. So like here it's, you know, like her portfolio pieces. If you click in any of those, then you're gonna see, you know, like the whole project itself. And so you have, you know, like you provide some sort of like background, some sort of context about the project, what might be the opportunities to like redesign or improve, what are the goals, what is the role of the person designing, when was it done? So this was a student project. What was the length of the project? Then it comes to like personas, interview, and here is a sample of, you know, like the different personas that Deborah showed you, right? Like in the slide. You know, what were the results of the user research, specifically in this case, a survey? What are the recommendations? You know, what is the ideation session? And then prototypes, right? Like digital prototypes over here. What were the findings, you know? What is the implementation, the onboarding? So every project has sort of like a different task, right? Because it depends of what you are tackling, what is the particular aspect that you want to like develop. And so like one's portfolio becomes a journey, a collection of all of the different things that goes into a project. You see that this project, it's quite lengthy, and that's the nature of UX projects that, you know, like they're very granular depending of what the particular case might be, you know, what are the things that need to be done in order to solve the problem. So what I encourage you to do, it's like when you are looking at these different websites from students, like go to see the about page or go to see, you know, like the resume and see that they're, you know, like people just like you. Gary, can you see my screen?
Yes. Yes.
All right, cool. So she works for Google Maps. Lisa Jacket works for Airwallex. Oscar Ko works for Palo Alto Networks. What happened? No, I didn't want to do that. Sorry. He's a senior product designer. Monica Mai is a senior product designer also at Super Red Labs. Ramin Partovi, it's a UX and UI designer at iTrade Network. And Sana Maksud is a UX designer at Amazon. So I highly recommend you to go and visit those different websites.
So what's next? So the next thing you do is obviously by coming to attending to our info session, you already created your student account. Enrolled into courses, and obviously signed up for our monthly email as well, which is on the website. You can put your information there and receive updates in design field. You also receive updates in our program as well as new courses being developed.
So here it's a slide this is me. You can see me right here. We do, for the UX design portfolio class, we invite different guests during the entire semester. And we have a special night that it's called the industry review. And what we do is we invite different designers and researchers, right? Like UX designers, UI designers, design managers, and so on. And we pair you in breakout groups with them individually. And then we take rounds of 30 minutes, and these professionals will give you feedback about what's working, what might not be working, how can you improve your project, and whatnot. We also bring a headhunter for that class, and we bring, you know, other guests during the entire semester. And we do invite guest speakers for all courses, but the portfolio class is the only one that pairs you individually with real designers. And as I mentioned before, like all of the work in this presentation, all of the images are done by former students. And so that's bring us to our next slide. This is the last Q&A section. Are there any questions, Gary?
Not at the moment, but we can touch upon a little bit about Berkeley's career services.
Okay, let me just come over here. So I'm gonna take you to our website. So like you are here in the art and design department. Actually, let me click over here and start from the beginning. So when you come to our website, you're gonna land in our homepage. You go to academic areas, art and design. And then you land over here, and then we have all of the different programs that we offer. And it's launching really slow. So here is the user experience design program. And then if you click on Ramin's name over here, this will take us to our Voices blog. And there are many different articles of our students' journey from even before they got to UC Berkeley Extension, and what was the transition moment for them, how did they get to UX, until how they find jobs and things like that. So feel free to read on that. If you scroll down on our right-hand side, there are our required courses at the very top. If you're taking these courses on a part-time basis, we highly recommend you that you follow the order that it's over here, the way that it appears on the website. And if you click on the essentials of user experience design, then you're gonna find our course description. Then if you click on the course outline, we're gonna display what are the main objectives, what are the topics, some of the topics that you're gonna learn during this class, and what are the methodologies in which you will learn. And you know, like what's next is the next course in the professional program, which course number 2 in this case is diagramming and prototyping. And then if you keep on scrolling for the fall semester, there are 2 sections. As I mentioned before, we don't start all the courses the same week. So like with Scott, this course starts on September 14 to November 16, and with Deborah, September 30 to December 16. The difference is that you gotta pay attention to the type or the format. So live online will be just very similarly to what we're doing today with this presentation. you will have your instructor, and then you will be with students, with other students at the same time, right? Like in a through Zoom. If you're doing it online fixed day, that means asynchronous, and it's also like run on a weekly basis. There are like projects or assignments that are due the following week, readings and things like that for both formats. The only difference is that all of this information is pre-recorded, as Deborah showed you, right? Like there are lectures there, there are readings and different things that one needs to do. But you do it like, if you can only like do this on the weekend and that's your only time frame, then you choose the online fixed date, right? You still be with a cohort of students in discussion boards and things like that, but you don't need to be like present. If you click on section details, it will tell you how many hours, how many semester units, when does the course run, and what is the equipment that is needed, and the software. And for instance, some courses have optional materials, some other courses have required books, right? But it's fairly inexpensive to, in terms of materials, like you're only gonna use like Post-its, markers, pencils, index cards, and blank paper to do UX, and of course some software. And then let me go back to one level over here. And then the electives are down below the required courses. And there are many different electives that we offer, as you can see. When they're highlighted on green, that means that they're offered during that semester. When they're in pink, they're not available for that semester. But you can see that there are plenty of electives, you know, like running. And here about career services. So we have our career services department. They do different workshops, different talks on, you know, like semester basis. They bring different experts to help you with resume, with mock interviews, you know, like things of that nature. But also they have an internship, sort of like department, career counseling, career development sessions. And so feel free to come over here and look for like what you need. In order for you to do an internship with UC Berkeley Extension, you need to be almost done with the program or fully done. But normally they require you to apply to the internship the last semester, one semester before last, sorry about that. One semester before last, so that you can start taking, you know, the pre-internship course, which, you know, the whole internship is 2 semesters. And they can give you all kinds of information about, you know, like what kind of organizations they have, what kind of requirements there might be to join their internship program. And I'm gonna click here on our Voices blog, right? And here, if you add UX design, then there are gonna be different articles about our students and our instructors. So I highly recommend you to come over here too and read these articles, click on the links. The links will lead you to like other aspects of their career. They mention here like their favorite courses, like what instructors were paramount in their education and things of that nature, and what were their favorite courses, and a little bit about their past, and until how they find jobs and things like that. And so with that brings us to the end of our presentation. So Gary, take it away.
So I hope you're all being inspired today. Sign up for courses. If you have any additional questions later on, you can always email us at extension-uxdesign@berkeley.edu. Again, it's extension-uxdesign@berkeley.edu. You will also be receiving a recording of this info session as well in a few days from our media team whenever it's ready. We are thank you that you all can able to participate today's info sessions. So we hope that we'll see you again soon. Have a good afternoon. Take care.
And if you have any questions, again, like don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you and take care.